What's up, everybody? Welcome. This is the continuation of the My Dudes series of podcasts. I am joined today by my good friend Erik Ong. I am Dan Besbris, and this is Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball presented by FanDuel and the FanDuel Sportsbook. Erik rocking in here with his brand new laptop. Look at the crispness. This is the most clearly that I've ever been able to see you, and I gotta say, that's an adorable punum right there. What's up, Biggie?
Thank you. Thank you. Happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me on the show. And I'm really excited to share with our listeners and viewers basically my hot targets for this season.
That's what we're doing on today's show. Erik's got 5 main names, but he also has a few others that we're going to be moving through on the quicker side. This show, of course, you can find Erik on social media at ROTOMANCER, ROTOMANCER. I am at Dan Besbris, DANBESBRIS. If you feel so inclined, like, rate, subscribe. That's always a helpful thing to do as we continue to grow this monster. And let's begin, Erik, as I like to do with all the guests that are giving their favorite reachable targets. The steering wheel is yours. I don't know where we're going. You get to take us there. My job is just to sit back, relax, and enjoy the splendor of your thoughts.
All right. So it's Eric Take the Wheel time.
Oh, yes.
All right. So, okay, let's just get things started with me just rattling off with the names of guys that are pretty popular. And I just want to throw it out there that I do concur with the popularity of these names that I'm going to throw out. And I do like them. It's not that I don't, it's just that the 5 guys I'm going to highlight in this episode are the guys that I tend to reach for the most amongst the guys that I do like in general. Now, basically, these are guys who I feel are going to do well this season. That's Amen Thompson, basically the Thompson twins, if you could lump them together. Josh
Okay.
Giddey, Matas Buzelis, Peyton Pritchard, Kaishawn George, Kyle Filipowski, and Sam Hauser. So those are the names in general that I do like. And basically, these top 5 next names that I'm going to discuss in greater detail with our viewers here are the guys that I reach for the most, who I'm willing to spend draft capital on and really go for because I really, really want them. But before I jump into that, if you've somehow stumbled upon this video of ours through searching or whatever, please don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and leave a comment if you are so inclined. So, without further ado,
I'm enjoying
let's get
myself, right? You're doing my work. I love it.
all right. So, first name, and I really love this guy. It's Derrick White. I feel that amongst the buzz surrounding Amen Thompson and Josh Giddey, and that's why I mentioned them, guys like Derrick White have a lot less spotlight on them, despite the absence of Jason Tatum uh, on the Celtics this year. Now, one, just to enumerate why I am still very high on White, and I lump him together with those two names who are in the late 20s, early 30s, ADP wise, and who are really hot right now. Now, White was 4th in the league in 3-pointers made by totals with 265 last season. Steph Curry was above him with 311. Now, that's a large gap. But after Curry, the drop in 3-point shooting is huge. And at that point, you've got Curry out, who's probably, taken late first or early second round. Who do you have as a almost guaranteed option if you really want to contest threes? My answer is Derrick White. Next, I love White because he was the best shot blocking point guard or guard in the league with 1.1 blocks per game. Now, this season, strategically speaking, I love competing for blocks. Why? Because the spread of talented shot blockers is very good. So even if you miss out on Victor Wembanyama, who's the best, it's still a category that you can decide to compete for or compete against a Wemby owner. And one of the pathways to success in that competition is getting a guard who can contribute blocks. Now, lastly, and obviously just to highlight the absence of Jason Tatum, without Tatum in 8 games, White averaged 20.8 points per game,
Mm.
5.8 assists, and it's just yummy. And then, okay, I love Derrick White. So almost as much as I love Amen, but obviously there's a lot more market and hunger or demand for Amen. So I'm very happy to, if I miss out on Amen, Derrick White thrills my day. I
Yeah,
know
and
you've spoken about White, Dan, and you're
I
kind
have,
of
yeah,
high on
like
him too.
I very much am. And the Amen Thompson thing, like you, I like Amen Thompson a lot. I love the way he fits into a lot of really interesting sort of backwards builds because of what he's good at versus what he's not. But like you just pointed out, Amen Thompson is going mid-second round right now, and Derrick White, you don't have to go that early to get him, which there's an appeal in when you take a guy in a draft. That's not to say you might end up with both of them, but I love that you highlighted what he did without Jason Tatum already. I'm going to play devil's advocate for a minute. Everybody knows I love Derrick White, so this is sort of like it's kind of disingenuous, but it's worth putting out there. Are you at all afraid that the Celtics rest guys this year?
Yeah, of course. That's a concern, but that's kind of a mother concern when you talk about teams like the Jazz, for example, and
Yeah.
that's been a pattern. Um, but from what I've been hearing and reading, I think at least to start the season, the Celtics are going to try to be competitive. They're going to try to mix things up. They're going to go for it. So uh, I might regret this fandom or liking White a lot because he might be rested down the stretch. But at the end of the day, for most of the season, I believe, for at least 50 games that White is playing, and by the way, he is quite durable, I must add, as far as guards go. I think I'm going to get a quality guy. And sometimes people over stress, I feel the absences players have towards the fantasy playoffs. Of course, it's important, but at the end of the day, you have to get there. And White is a guy who I strongly feel will help get me there.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you. And I like end your league 3 weeks early anyway, and that takes a lot of the sting out of that one. Biggie, what are you working on these days before we get to your second player?
Oh, yes. So, to everyone listening and watching, I'm now writing for hashtag basketball.
Yes, love that
I
place.
help a wonderful site, great tools. I only got to really explore them in depth this season or this pre-draft cycle, actually, and it's just amazing. And um, I feel that it's a site that's underutilized by the general fantasy basketball market because it's chock full of stuff that people can get intimidated by. And we're trying this season to make it a lot more accessible, a lot more understandable, and a lot more usable. So, what I contributed to our draft guide, which is all it takes is joining in a Patreon subscription for just a handful of bucks, you're going to get tremendous projections that we have. And I wrote the commentary for a lot of like over 200 plus players
Love it.
within that draft guide. So it's positive and negative comments, etc., etc. But in the season, I will be doing a lot of blurb type commentary, but not not exactly blurb type, but
Right.
more like trending players who I feel okay, this guy's on a 3 game hot streak. He's a definite pickup, and I feel he'll have long term outlook, quality, stuff like that.
I
So
love it. I
please
love
stay
it.
tuned for that.
It's a beautiful match. Hashtag basketball is a great site. Joey is an awesome dude. I'm so glad that you guys are working together. Eric, where do you want to go with player number 2?
Okay, so in a weird way, we're kind of walking through my general draft strategy already for the season by deciding to be competitive in blocks, and that's um, based on projections. Just to give you a little bit of a sneak peek, there are roughly maybe 4 guys expected to average, well, at least based on our projections, over 2 blocks per game. And I don't mind naming them. It's Wemby, obviously, uh, Chet Holmgren, who's rather hard to get because he's in a specific window. And then there's Walker Kessler. And last but not the least is one of my favorite targets. That's Donovan Clingan, the sophomore who's now penciled in, well, probably penned in at this point as the starting center for the Portland Trailblazers. Now, a bit of research, guys. Last season, he was eighth in the league in block totals,
Mm.
tied with Anthony Davis at 110 blocks for the season. The next lowest guy was Rudy Gobert with 104. Next highest was JJJ, Jaren Jackson Jr., with 113.
Mm.
So you can see that they're tightly clustered together. But mind you, I must highlight Clingan did this while DeAndre Ayton was still on the Blazers.
In
Okay.
spirit.
I mean, he was still playing, right?
Yeah,
And
he was.
fine, there was this period where Ayton was injured and sitting, and Klingon really shined, and that was down the stretch. I'm sure you're quite familiar with that. But
It was a fun time.
again, yeah. And so now it's unleash the Klingon time. And I'm really high on Klingon, especially if you're intending to compete in blocks. I think he's going to average maybe 2.3 blocks per game, something like that, at least in the 2 block neighborhood, which is kind of the mental threshold that we would consider as an elite shot blocker, right? Now, he's not just a shot blocker. He's going to give you those classic old school big man stats that you're after. He was ranked in the top 5 in offensive rebounds per 100 possessions. So we're excluding the minutes per game out of the equation, but on sheer per 100 possessions, sorry, he was a top 5 offensive rebounder. So you could just project that he will odds are give you around double digit rebounds at the very least, along with 2 blocks per game. So that's kind of Walker Kessler neighborhood without the Jazz tanking weight on his shoulder, if you think
Mhm.
about it.
I love
So
Donovan Clingan too. And I know this is a weird decision I'm making mid podcast, but I'm actually not going to add anything to what you said to Clingan. I think he's fantastic, but I also happen to know the 3 names that you still have in the hopper here, and these are guys that I think have been undercovered on my own podcast, and so I kind of want to save time for them. So what
sure.
I'm going to say here is I love Donovan Clingan. I love Derrick White. I'm fully on board with both of these. Erik, I want you to take us to player number 3 because I think this is a guy that I haven't basically talked about almost at all on the show. And I'm excited for everybody else to hear what you've got to say on him.
Okay. Next guy on the list is Reed Sheppard. So we all know that Fred Van Vliet is pretty much can be
Yeah,
ruled out for
he's done.
the whole season. Now, that doesn't mean that Reed Sheppard is going to start. It's still speculative at this point, and I just want to make that clear. But given the depth issues at in the backcourt that the Houston Rockets have, they will almost have no choice but to give Reed Sheppard minutes, even if it's behind Amen Thompson. Whether it's behind Amen or alongside Amen, Reed Sheppard is gonna get his minutes. So now in the I know it's a small sample size, but in 3 games as a starter last season in his rookie campaign, Sheppard had 19.7 points per game, 4.7 assists, 2.0 steals per game,
Wow.
and 4.3 threes per game. Now, obviously, the 4.3 threes is, again, small sample size. He played 36.3 minutes over those 3 games. But in context, let's say he averages minutes in the low 30s, high 20s. Even if we get 2/3 of these numbers, you're going to get a guard, probably late middle rounds, who's going to give you quality steals because he's a great defender. And again, there's not a lot of data on him as far as statistical production, which a lot of managers use to research. There's not a lot of data, but from college coming into the NBA, because I play in dynasty leagues, just to add this out there, I was doing a lot of research on Sheppard. He, for me, was one of the prized pick of his draft class because he has a clean game. He's a two-way player. He can contribute threes and steals. And so moving forward, I mean, looking ahead for this season, I am really high on Sheppard. I think, he's going to have erratic games here and there, but overall, he will have his opportunity to shine. And I believe that the talent that he already has will take him to that next level.
Where are you comfortable taking Sheppard?
Oh, um, okay. I am currently doing a slow-ish draft right now, and I actually took him. So this is a real um, data. I took him at 94. That's a bit
Wow.
that's a bit high compared to the market, and that's why I feel he is a sleeper. But for the rest of you, this is a highly competitive league, by the way, and it was done over a group chat in Facebook. So as I typed out my pick, the guy immediately after said, "Oh," he typed out a comment, "Oh, sniped just before my pick." So
Yeah, he
whether
probably
or
thought for sure he was going to get him there.
all right, so just after I picked him at 94, the guy who was at pick 95 was really eyeing him. So that was I got lucky in the sense that I did want him, and I got him. So but for the rest of you, he's going at in the 120s right now, or at least in that region. If you can get him just after 100, that would be swell. I'm a bit more on the aggressive side, probably uh, compared to other conservative
Hmm.
drafters out there, and that's just shows how high on him, and that's why I had to put him on this list.
Yeah, he's been moving up boards pretty fast. His Yahoo pre-rank, if we're gonna think about like what people are looking at, was hovering in the 150 range, and then the latest edition they put him out at 122. It sounds
There
like you
you
still
go.
feel pretty darn good if you can get him at that spot, but it also sounds like perhaps in some leagues folks are jumping even a little bit before that. Let's go to number 4 on the list. This one was brought up once before on the podcast, but I really like this name. So I'm excited for people to see that you like him as well.
Okay, so next name on my list is Isaiah Jackson of the Pacers. He's no Miles Turner. He's now with the Bucks. We're expecting some sort of timeshare situation between Jackson and Jay Hoff. Um, and for context, he is coming off a torn Achilles. But out of all the players who are missing time in the league or have missed time last season due to a torn Achilles, Jackson got his injury the earliest. So he's had the most time to recover. And I was actually very high on him as early as 2 months ago when I stumbled upon an article or an interview that he, at the time, that was 2 months ago, he declared himself 80 to 90% ready for
Hmm.
camp. So that was a good sign. Well, sometimes obviously players are more optimistic than they should. But just picturing what Isaiah Jackson can do, and mind you, for the past 3, 4 seasons, he's always been at the fringes of my fantasy radar because he's such a per minute beast. He's one of those guys that, oh my God, if this guy just got minutes, he's going to be a crazy fantasy asset. So last season, he was 10th in the league in blocks per game at 1.6. Fine. He only played 5 games before he tore his Achilles. So it's really a small sample size. But to really zoom in on what I can project from Isaiah Jackson, let's look at his per 36 numbers career wise. That's 17.3 points per game, 10.3 rebounds, 3.2 blocks, 1.4 steals, and shooting at 59.5% from the field. Now, I obviously don't expect
Hmm.
Jackson to play 36 minutes, especially coming off, recovery from a torn Achilles.
Right.
And there will be some missed games due to load management, et cetera, et cetera. Because to me, I think the direction that the team is going after signing him to a reasonably good 3-year deal is that he could be their center of the future. It's just that they can't really grind him out for 82 games this season, considering his injury history. But that said, if you take into account the fact that he would play maybe 22, 24 minutes, maybe have this quote unquote timeshare situation with Jay Huff. I personally figured that's good enough to put Jackson at top 100 range. Because to be fair, people, if you look at the numbers that Jackson can deliver, if he actually did play over 30 minutes per game, he'd be a top 50 player.
Yeah,
So,
or better.
or better. Because there were spots in, I forgot what season that was, but there was a stretch of maybe a couple of weeks that he was a hot streamer in fantasy because he was clocking in a top 40 value. I think
Hmm.
Miles Turner was hurt. It was one of those seasons.
Hmm.
And Jackson was healthy. And he was delivering crazy numbers, like something like 11 boards, high block rate, steals per game, which is a nice combo to have out of your center position. So yeah, I'm just totally in love with Jackson. Of course, mind you, I'm tempering my expectations. I'm being realistic here. There will be load management games, again, timeshare situation. But even with those limitations, I am very high. And considering he's what? Being drafted as a late round flyer,
Yeah, if at all.
um, if at all, in standard leagues. Just to share, I also just drafted him in said slow draft. Um, again,
Hey, man, you're
I'm
putting your
not
money
just
where your mouth is. I like it.
exactly. I'm not just talking the talk. I'm walking the walk. I picked him at 118.
Yeah. And
So
honestly, that's like, it's not that crazy. The hope is that you could get him a little bit later, maybe in a public draft or a home league or whatever. But like, as Flyers go, he is a very intriguing one. And I think, and I'll ask you this as opposed to just throwing it out there. Do you feel like, the injury stuff might even create a little bit of a value bubble on him if folks are like, oh, he's played 20 minutes this first 2 weeks? Doesn't that feel like a number that could even inch up as he gets his legs underneath him?
okay. As somebody who's been following the NBA for so long, that could go both ways. Yes, it could
True.
be him ramping up and getting his legs underneath him, so to speak. Or there's always this risk of re-injury. There's
Oh
this
God,
risk.
don't even. Oh,
Exactly,
let me
right?
help
So
us.
it could go either way. But if you're on the optimistic or glass half full kind of perspective, yes, it could ramp up. And even if, say, that for whatever reason, the Pacers decide to start Jay Huff ahead of Jackson, even though Jackson, as of the latest news, has been running with the starters in training
Right.
camp, even if Jay Huff does start, or even if, again, timeshare, et cetera, I think, or it is my belief rather, that Jackson's sheer quality of um, disruption at the rim and ability to rebound the ball in the paint over Jay Huff, who is more of a talented stretch five. Okay, for better context here, he will be able to anchor the Pacers' defense in the interior, and that's something that um, Jay Huff cannot do as well. So I think because of Jackson's unique skill set and abilities, he will definitely have all the minutes that he can handle for this season.
Hey, friends, a reminder when you're going to play fantasy sports this year, give Fantrax a look and do it by going to fantrax.com/oldmansquad. That's how they'll know where you heard about them. It's just like signing up for a Yahoo account or an ESPN account. You just register. It's very simple, takes a minute or two. Playing also free. It's just a better site to play fantasy sports. The options are better. The ability to do so many different things that Yahoo ESPN will not let you do. Trust me, once you get used to how it looks, which no matter what site you're using, you use something new, it's going to take you a second. You will not go back. It's a better place to play. Eric, talking to Erik Ong at ROTOMANCER on social media. The Thriller from Manila, who's number 5 on the list.
Okay, full disclosure, there's a bit of recency bias here for the name that I'm about to mention. He's a guy who I picked up last season during the playoffs, during the fantasy playoffs, and he helped me win first place. So
Cash money.
full disclosure. So there's a bit of a preference here, but it
It's
also
fair.
led me, which is fair. But one thing that did for me is that I had my eyes glued to his per game production as each game went by, because I was, do I drop him? Am I just streaming him? And the name I'm talking about, the player I'm talking about, is Davion Mitchell. So we were talking about still healthy Tyler Hero, functional Bam Adebayo, etc., etc. And the moment that Davion Mitchell moved to the Miami Heat, he just found his he found his tribe. He found his people. He is, as I said in a different podcast, he really bought into the Heat culture and he represented it. Um, just to rattle off his stats in Miami, because he did come from via trade with the Raptors. His stats with Miami in 30 games, he started 15 of those games. He had 10.3 points per game, 5.3 assists, 1.4 steals, and 1.4 threes per game. And this came with 50.4% field goal shooting. And having a guy who can hit 1.4 threes and still clock in with 50 field goal is amazing, especially late in drafts. Now, just to be clear, I've had, prior to the hero injury, I've had Davion Mitchell as a late round flyer. Okay. Even under the assumption that Hero was playing and Hero was healthy. Because during the time that Mitchell played, for the Heat, they utilized him extensively as a sixth man and is a playmaker off the bench. Plus, he is a known lockdown defender since his college days. And again, getting 1.4 steals, 5 point something assists, and he played an average of 30 plus minutes, which is kind of a lot for somebody who just joined the team, right? And in the playoffs, the real life playoffs, the Heat really used him, and it showed that he was integral in their rotation. And I took that and said, okay, this guy's gonna play heavy minutes. He's earned his right. He accumulated enough brownie points to be worth a roster slot in fantasy, thanks to that. But fast forward, we know Tyler's out from anywhere between 6, 8, 12 weeks, depending on how long he recovers from his foot surgery. But until he gets back, I expect Davion Mitchell to be starting. The numbers I'm going to throw out are just projections in my head. 6.5 assists, 1.5 steals per game, 50 field goal will still be there. Points aren't going to be a lot, maybe 12.5, but I'm going to get a steal and a half, a 3.5 per game, 50 field goal. Roughly no drawbacks, with the exception of so free throw, but then he doesn't go to the line that often. So it's a negligible drawback, so to speak. And that's why I totally love Davion Mitchell.
That is the first time, I think, that he's been brought up on this podcast by me or any guest. I know we got a new one on the board. Just for folks that were sort of lost in the beauty of it all, is this someone that you're looking at as like the last pick? Would you go a little earlier than that? Where do you want to scoop him up?
Oh, as I said, he was originally a late round flyer, but that was under the assumption that Tyler was playing.
But do you think you need to? I'm just sort of curious, like what you're seeing in drafts right now.
Yes, I'm going to tackle him aggressively somewhere in the 120s.
Got it.
That's where I want him. I'm willing to go a bit sooner, but there are guys like aforementioned Filipowski who I would probably take maybe ahead of Mitchell. But
that's a fun part of drafts. It's like where you get to do a little spelunking.
True. And again, given how drafts go, especially for the newer, the listeners and viewers who are newer to the game, assists are rather hard to find late in drafts. And he is a guy who can give you 5 to 6 assists plus steals and not going to hurt your field goal. That's just a diamond in the rough right there.
He is Erik Ong. He's my dude. I'm so glad that we found a time to get this thing done. We're going to try to get another one in so we can do a little mock talk, but I wanted to make sure everybody knew your targets first. That's what everybody loves the most. Erik can be found on social media at ROTOMANCER, ROTOMANCER. You are the man. Check out his stuff over at #basketball. Erik, I'll talk to you super soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Those are Erik's dudes. He gave you a laundry list at the beginning, but the 5, just in case you forgot them, Davion Mitchell was the last one. We'll go backwards. Isaiah Jackson, Reed Sheppard, Donovan Clingan, and Derrick White. And I don't want you guys to think that I wanted to rush through the first couple names on that list. You guys know I love them too. I couldn't do anything with that. Erik and I love the same guys. Like, go get them. Enough said, right? But the last ones, we haven't talked a ton about those guys. Isaiah Jackson has come up a few more times recently. But first, really, we've covered Reed Sheppard in any kind of detail. And really, the first we've covered Davion Mitchell. So really cool additions to our player discussion stable here with somebody that I trust. And Erik, also really good at deep leagues, if that's something that you're in, 14, 16 team or more. Erik is a fantastic resource. Again, he's ROTOMANCER on social media, and you can see his stuff over at #basketball. Guys, if you've been watching this show, I've talked about this a few times, and you're thinking, wow, I love how much free stuff Dan does on podcasts and on video casts and on social media. And you're like, Dan should have $1. I do have a Patreon for $1. I don't care if you do it, but it's there. It's Patreon. Old Man Squad is the page over there. I don't even know how to load it, honestly, but I do know that the link is in the show description. This show is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel Sports. If we're talking about the Miami Heat and Davion Mitchell, you might as well know that their season win total is 37.5. Yeah, I have no feelings on that one. I'm not going to give you a bet on the Miami Heat because I really don't know what they're going to be this season. I don't know if Andrew Wiggins is going to get traded. I don't know how good they're going to be without Tyler Hero, but Davion Mitchell definitely has an inside track to some playing time until they get Tyler back in the mix, and then perhaps beyond. This show is also brought to you by the HOF app. I'll tell you more about that one on the next pod. For now, I think I want to get this bad boy wrapped up because you guys got the stuff you wanted. You got Erik Ong's dudes. Ease electrifying dudes. I couldn't come up with a nice assonance when you have a bunch of words that start with the same vowel. Eels? What is it? Not doing very well here. I've recorded a lot of podcasts today. My voice is going, so it was really good to have Erik also handle most of the heavy lifting there. Hey, if you enjoyed this show, please hit that like button and subscribe. That's a big one, no matter how you're taking in the content. YouTube, After the Fact, Apple, Spotify, all that stuff. Please do subscribe. We got so much more to come here during this run-up to the season, even though we don't have that much time left. I'm Dan for Erik Ong. Find me on Twitter at Dan Besbris. Follow Old Man Squad on Twitter as well for knowing when other shows drop on the feed. We'll see you guys soon.